One of the toughest questions for any immigration lawyer to answer in advance is whether starting their own immigration practice is the right personal and professional move for them. There are many considerations to analyze, so it is often best to turn to other colleagues and ask them about their experience. And who better to ask than the 4 current members of the AILA National Executive Committee who each have their own experience with this issue. Alan, how did you know that solo practice was right for you?
So in the beginning, I didn't know that solo practice was right for me. I just sort of filled the space on my resume as I wasn't sure that I wasn't going back to a large firm and I wasn't sure what my next step would be. So I kind of, when I first left a large firm, had a hybrid experience where I was actually in-house at a company part-time, just doing their immigration work as well as doing my own practice. So it was sort of more of a gig economy where I got the C-suite benefits from a company, but I also was sort of getting my practice off the ground. So it's always important to sort of think about what are your full options and what do you sort of need.
And Kelly, share a bit about your practice and your satisfaction level with what you've done.
So I'm now 3 years into my own practice, and I could not be more satisfied. I was previously at a firm where the head attorney would interview the clients and then pass the work on to me, and I wanted to really be a part of the intake process. And so now I'm a part of the intake process. I get to choose the cases that I want and throw the cases away that I don't. Although at first I did have to take the cases I didn't want because I had to make money. But I could not be more satisfied. I'm happy, I sleep better, and I get to have some fun.
Great. And Farshad, how about you? What were you anxious when you started your practice?
Well, yes. I mean, I used to work for a large firm, and immediately it was like 8 months into that my employment that I knew that wasn't a good fit for me, and I wanted to have my own practice. So I was almost certain that this was a good thing for me, but I wasn't expecting to immediately open it, and my plans were that actually start in a smaller firm and get more experience in immigration and then open my own practice. But that didn't happen because the economy was down and I wasn't able to secure any job. So I said, okay, this is the time. So I started my practice, and it was a great opportunity, I think, for me.
And Jeff, you've now built a sizable firm in Denver. Why did you decide to launch your own practice?
The selfish part of it was that I was not a very good employee. I'm better being my own boss than being an employee. But the truth is, yeah, I mean, there was a lot of anxiety about opening my own practice. But here's what I would say is that immigration is one of those fields where it's not guided by decades of precedent. In many ways, it reinvents itself every day. And so it is one of those areas where you can do it on your own. And in many ways, you're on equal footing with people that have done it for decades. And in some ways, you're on better footing because you're more likely to keep current and up with technology. And so I do think it's one of those fields where even people fresh out of law school, if they're willing to educate themselves, get good mentors, stay involved with AILA, work with you, Reed, in the Practice Management Center, it is one of those few fields where I think you can do it on your own. But it takes some entrepreneurial skill. You can't just be a good lawyer and open your own practice. You really have to have a larger, broader skill set than that. You have to be a good manager. You have to be a good marketer. You have to be a good business person, as well as a good lawyer. And I think that's what people often miss is, you know, you can, anyone can be a good lawyer. That doesn't mean you have the skills to open your own practice. That's a very different skill set.
And I think what Jeff is saying is super important, that you also may have a season. You may have a season where you sort of work as your own solo practice, and then you say, you know what, I don't do this anymore. Or the opportunities present themselves. Constantly, I get firms that offer me opportunities that, you know, are either being reviewed or being rejected. But still, you should know that it isn't the marriage of life that attorneys used to have, where you have to stay with one firm, and that firm becomes your whole life in your institution. So there may be a time when I might either join another firm or another company and sort of run in that direction, because in the season that I'm in now, which is, you know, closer to retirement than I am to being a young lawyer, I'm looking at the nest egg and looking at sort of moving away from the constant hurdle of marketing and keeping up with client development to a softer landing space. So that's also one of the things that you need to think about, because if you have your own practice for always, you're always on the gun. You always have to be the young 25, and I'm far from 25.
Last toss-up question. If you had one piece of advice to share about starting a practice, what would that be from you? It's an open question to any of you.
I can go ahead. Go ahead. Sorry, Kelly.
Get a billing manager, somebody who can run the business side of the practice for you. That's something that I totally underestimated, was the amount of time that it would take to do the billing and payroll. And I know that Jeff married his, so.
I did. And I think what I would say is related to what you say, Kelly, and that is focus on what you're good at and what you love to do. That's what's going to keep you coming to work every day. And the stuff that you're not good at or that you hate doing, outsource it. Hire a contractor, hire a staff member to do that, because it's going to free you up to do the work that you're really good at. And that's ultimately how you're going to grow your practice.
I think remain scalable. When I first had my practice, I had a desk in my home and a phone. Then I had, they grew to an office space in New York City and an office space in DC, and now I'm just in a space in DC. So be scalable to sort of meet your desires and your need. The ability you are to sort of bounce with the market will sort of always increase your bottom line. So keep your bottom line very low always.
I perhaps would do the same, but the only thing that I would do different is that I would try to partner with somebody. Because for years I was solo and I was practicing by myself, and I always felt that I'm alone. I need somebody to partner with, to be able to collaborate. And at some point that made me to be more collaborative with my AILA fellow members. But at the same time, you want somebody that really you can lean on in terms of your details of your practice. So that's what I would do differently.
Well, thank you all for joining us today and sharing your insights into opening your own practice. And we hope that those that are listening to the video will now take advantage of the Launching an Immigration Practice series on AILA University.